Alaikum, welcome to Tanya Outside In, chapter 19. We are in the this is um, uh, the third session in chapter 19. Chapter 19 really goes with chapter 18. It wouldn't have felt weird if this was just one long chapter. And chapter 18 to 25 are all one unit, basically on one foot. A lot of people get lost here in this how the Tanya's working here, but Rav Shais Tao made it very clear for us that this section of Tanya, the Rebbe is basically giving us an emergency binary way of looking at reality. I was talking to my dad today. I was saying that um, a married man, please excuse the mushroom I'm about to give, but a man who's married, yeah, is there really a hevdil between if he was to commit adultery mamash or to just merely, hold another woman's hand? Rahman al-Islam. When you're thinking about the relationship, yeah, when you're thinking about his wife, there is no hevdil between the madrigas, the madrigas of where he goes. With it's not a nice thing to talk about. I'm trying to think of something else. Um, yeah, a different idea. A man's wife, yeah, she can't stand him picking his nails. Yeah. She doesn't like him picking his nails. And Is there a difference between him picking his nails and him not being faithful? It's neged haratzon. When you turn reality binary, she's got a ratzon. Now, what's the difference between whether you're really breaking her ratzon or whether you're breaking her ratzon? That's really the picture. This is actually a really healthy. You have to be a healthy person to think in this way. But but to turn, I remember Michael, you like this. We've spoken about this many times. Making things binary is really good if you can deal with it. Life isn't binary. That's a very important point. Life is not binary. But if you can make things, the more things you can make binary, the as long as you can slip out of it when you need to. But when you can make things binary, you're in a really good position. Like I've told you many times, is the way that I overcame my addiction to checking my website to check out the sales for my website was I ousted myself from looking at the website only when it was I'm only allowed to look at it when it's nighttime. That made it very binary. And that's the problem. That's the reason why we all have such an issue with eating. That's the reason why I was able to overcome smoking weed, overcome smoking cigarettes, overcome lots of tivers, yeah. But I like every night I get destroyed when I come home from work and I eat like a behemoth. Yeah. It's like I feel like so I'm having to put in like I'm trying to work out a way of how I can make it binary because you have to eat dinner, yeah. You can't not eat dinner. Yeah, so like what how you gonna do it? Like when you just have one plate of food, yeah, but then how much you put on the plate? And then where'd you go from there? And then okay, so you're not gonna have chocolate. Okay, but then what about like, dried mangoes? And what like everything's grey. So that's the whole Indian of a Malik. Like we learned like last Parsha, we said, what's the whole Indian of a Malik is Suffolk. How much Suffolk does a Malik need to get a stronghold on us? The difference between a Tsere and a Segel. That's it. The difference in a Tsere and a Segel. even smaller than a yud, a pin to the mamash, a tipa 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 dioi. That's all the Yetzer Hara needs, and you can now you're kind of powerless. So that's why it was so good with my thing about not looking at my website. Is if it's light outside, usser. If it's dark outside, mutter. What about Shkia? Okay, so there's a 20-minute time in the day when there's a sun. Fine.
Well, can you just define a little more about this binary? And you keep saying binary. You mean it's just you mean you're making it very simple? Is that how you're defining it?
Binary means yes or no.
Hmm.
Like when you look at a black that you can get a black and white picture, which is like not a normal black and white picture. I bet. Um, but like a glufa. How do you say glufa? Um, like a stamp. You know, you can get a black and white picture made as a stamp, yeah, where
Hmm.
it's literally black and white. Whereas
Hmm.
if you turn a photograph into black and white, it's all gradations of grey. But the Indian of making things binary is, I mean, like you can really make everything. Well, you can make, like we just said, making eating it when you get home from work binary is very difficult. But you can make, you can make a lot of things binary, like like one of my boys who over shave of him wanted to take on some kind of avoider. He said, "I'm not eating rugelach and sweets and chocolate." I can't remember. He made his own rules, and it was very definite. But if you just say like, I'm going to cut down on sugar, well, that's not binary. So when you boil a relationship down to binary now, there aren't madrigas in Ratzon. So when in a real relationship, yeah, a relationship is dynamic and colorful and nuanced, etc. So there are certain things that you do that drive your wife nuts. There are certain things you do that your wife just doesn't like. There are certain things you do that your wife can't tolerate bichlal. There's all these madrigas. So in that sense, it's better to pick your nails than it is to cheat on her. But when we make it binary, now there's just her Ratzon. And now all behavior becomes shaveh. You with me? So that's what the Rebbe is doing. So that's what the Rebbe is doing in these chapters. He's showing you that even though we live in a nuanced world and there are madrigas to averas, there are averas that are chayav malchus, mardus. There's madrig, there's averas like lashes to rabbanon. There's averas that aren't chayav any punishment. There's averas that are chayav chorus and skila and misa b'day Misa B'nai Shemayim, and then Misa B'nai Adam, and then there's all madrigas of Averas, and there is, but when you boil it down to the relationship, and you boil reality down to reality, meaning that all there is God. We're going to do that in the next couple of prakim. All there is Hashem. There's nothing else. Meaning there really aren't madrigas. You either are aligned with his Ratzon or you're not aligned with his Ratzon. That's it. So this is what the Rebbe is doing over these seven chapters, was it 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 20. These 8 chapters. He's he's helping us paint a binary picture where we are able to say, I know that I would give up my life for God rather than bow to the idol. So why can't I just give up this? Why can't I give up this little pleasure that isn't in line with Ratzon Hashem? He's going to say in the chapter 24 more that that's a rushtus. So right now he's building the idea of you would give up your life for Hashem. Meaning if someone put a gun to your head and said to you, either bow to the idol or I'll kill you, yeah, you would take the bullet. Now, Gabriel asked me a great question. Um, if we would rather die than bow to Avodah Zarah, how comes we see throughout all of history we did loads of Avodah Zarah? What was the answer? You gave an answer, didn't you, Gabriel?
My answer was that when Jews did Avodah Zarah by will, it was the driving force, as the Gemara says, was taiva.
It
So
was
therefore, they were already in a ruach shtus, and the taiva convinced them to do the Avodah Zarah. But when someone puts a gun to your head, you don't have taiva that's controlling you already. So then it's obvious that a Jew wouldn't do that.
okay. I think the question's better than the answer, but it's still it's a gisha, and it's not. It's obviously there is an answer to that question.
I think that's the right answer. I think that is the
Yeah.
yeah. Think about it.
No, I hear what you're saying. It's still something like maybe it's the right. I hear it's the right answer, but I feel also it's like there's a bit more to explain in it as well. Like why does Taiva overcome? Just as a sidebar, I want to just maybe I'll say I should really give a Torah on Purim. Had a beautiful Torah come to me. We're not now. Let's try and finish the parak, and then maybe I'll make a time over the next day or two. We'll give a Torah on Purim, which is very beautiful. The kesher between Poshet Yod, yeah, and Basia with her, his Pashtus Yad when she took Moshe out of the Nile. Mamash the same Inyan. That's the Kiblu, the Kim of a Kiblu. The Wu Makabel Baratzon is the same Inyan as putting the hand away from your goof. Okay. Let's just get you excited. Um, okay. So Ella, we're page Kaf Hey. First one line is Choyte. Okay, we're saying that the person's only choyte when there's a roshtus. Galus azel b'chinas chochma eino ela b'chinas hamispashetes mimena b'nefesh kula lachayosa. That the reason why the person can do an avera is because everything from his chokhmah down, not including his chokhmah, is covered by this, and that's the gut. That's what is called the gullus. So it's just it. The gullus really is on the hispashtus of the chokhmah, meaning the how to say hispashtus? The how to say hispashtus? The spreading out. This is a word. What? I don't know. Anyway, the hispashtus means the spreading out. So it's the rest of who he is so to speak a spreading out from the nakuda from the point of chokhmah, which is the essence of his soul. So that one's so elagalus so the galus meaning the ability to go against who he really is not the Chokhmah itself, it's just the rest of the system, which is an expression of Chokhmah from Bina down. Aval shosh ve'ikar shel b'chinas Chokhmah shebenefesh lekis, who b'moichin, that but the actual essence of the nefesh lekis, which in this place we're calling Chokhmah, yeah, Eina mislabeshes belavush sak the klipa. It's not uncovered. It's not covered over with the klipa, which shel klipa shebelei b'chalas muli b'chinas galas mamash. It's not in galas. Rak shehi b'chinas sheina b'rishoyim. That this level, meaning the essence of his godly soul, it's never in galas. It can't go into galas. It all it does is it goes to sleep. And it's not being vocal in any way because it's in a bechina in a bechina of sleep. Because when is it asleep? The entire time that that person is oiskim b'datam binasam b'tayvus ha'olam. The Kozman that he's identified with the things of this world. Kozman that he thinks of himself as a human being instead of a yid. That's when the chokhmah in his soul is asleep. Kozman that we think of ourselves as a human being, like I quoted from Baby Boss. You saw that, Yitzhi, did you see the Baby Boss one? You didn't watch it, it's cute. He said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're correct. So it's a cute quote. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're correct. So this is a bit like that. When a person relates to himself as a human being, he becomes a human being. When a person relates to himself as a yid, he's a yid. That's what he's saying here. The Gemara goes of Yakez Kiyashan Hashem. It's like he will wake up. Lamoid bin Nisayin be'emunas Hashem, so that he will be oimed in the Nisayin of emunas Hashem. Bli shum tam v'das v'seichel musagloi. Liskabe al haklipas v'tayvas oilam hazeh. Beheta uba issa. Shehugel behem. In this case, he will be able to overcome because it's going to kind of poke this your God or your life pokes the essence of his Jewish soul and it flares up. Lamalam in a tam v'das. It's got nothing to do with what he understands. It's just who he is. And he'll be misgaber over the klipa and the tithe of this world. Beheta uba issa shehugel behem. Those 4 words are so huge. He says whether this tithe is beheta uba issa shehugel behem, whatever he's become accustomed to. Yeah, so that's the inyan of I mean, that's how I really see the world like this so much nowadays. I spend so much time with with I'm at Shimon Tzaddik with the most the holiest Meir Sharim Chevri, yeah. And in my eyes, they literally look the same as everyone else. They just got different hair and like funny clothes. But it's all just when a person is accustomed to a certain way of life, then he's accustomed to a certain way of life. And his Averas, they might not look like the Averas of the people where, like where I come from, those kind of Averas. But when you boil it down to reality, he's just living out a program that he got handed by his parents and by his society. And the people where I'm from who are over and all kinds of heinous Averas, they're also just living out a program that they got handed by their society and their family. So that's what he says, where the behet issa shehugel behem, whatever he's become accustomed to. Those words are huge. V'limois behem, and he becomes disgusted in the Averas. V'livcho lo Hashem l'chel kol ha'guraloi, and he chooses Hashem, his chelek and his goal. Yeah, that's Bechinas Purim. Goal. Meaning he goes above to the makor, to the shoresh of who he is. That's the inner of goal. Of has a goal like a lotto. Is there a better word for it? A lottery? Yeah. So why do you need to have a lottery? Why would you need to flip a coin over something? You need to flip a coin over something when they're the same thing. You don't know which one to take, so you flip a coin. So the idea of a lottery is just learning this from Melech David just now. How is it that 2 things look exactly the same to you? Number one, they could be exactly the same, okay? Like the choice between a $10 bill and a $10 bill, yeah? Let's say, though, that just theoretically, let's say that you have got infinite money. Yeah, you print money. You're a money printer. And to you, a $100 bill and a $10 bill is exactly the same thing. That's another madrega. So there's a good example is like this. You've got a kid. I just saw this in Rav Yoel Khan. You have a kid who's got 2 toys. Yeah? One toy is like Buzz Lightyear and one toy is Woody, the cowboy, Woody, whatever he is, yeah? And to the kid, one toy is extremely exciting and one toy is extremely boring. You, who's above the child, looks at the toy and the kid says to you, what toy do you want to play with? and you're like, oh, I don't care, whatever, whatever. Doesn't there's no difference. And the kid's like, what are you talking about? There's no difference. This is Buzz Lightyear and this is Woody. Obviously, you want to play with Buzz Lightyear. And you can't understand, like, to you, they're the same thing. They're two toys. But to a lower perspective, they're mummish night and day. Now, now you being the person who can't tell the difference between Buzz Lightyear and Woody, yeah. Now it comes out between the difference between tahina and hummus on your falafel. Yeah, the guy at the shop says to you, you want tahina or hummus on your falafel? And you're like, oh, what's the question? Give me the tahina. It's much tastier. Yeah. And then you eat a big tzaddik. A big tzaddik comes into the falafel shop, yeah? And the guy behind the counter says to him, what do you want, tahina or hummus? He's like, what? Don't care. And you're like, what do you mean don't care? Tahina is much more tasty than hummus. He's like, this makes no difference to me whatsoever. You got madregas and madregas. As you go up on higher madregas, the shinuyim, the hevdalim, the what do you call it? The differences of the things lower down make less and less difference. So that's the inyan of the gorel, the inyan of the poor of the lotto of the flipping the coin, is when you are in such a high place that you can't choose between Baruch Mordechai and Aruch Haman. To you, it's the same thing. That's the inyan of Purim. It's so high that from that perspective, even Madregas in not in Ruchnius, in morality, become Shaveh from Hashem's perspective. So that's the inyan of a poor. And then you see that actually that's the real. That's when you know that it's really Hashem. That's when it's Hashem mamash, because it's not a response to the differentiation of the lower level. It's just random. Why is it random? Because that's Hashem mamash. Not that intrinsically Mordechai is better than Haman. That would be at a lower level when you see that obviously Mordechai is a tzaddik and Haman's a rasha. But when you get to the highest level in Hashem, Hashem doesn't love Mordechai because he's a rasha, because he's a tzaddik, and he doesn't hate Haman because he's a rasha. He loves Mordechai because that's him, because he's Jewish, because the Boine Shalom is a Yid. Or I say the Yid is the Boine Shalom. Either way, that's the inyan of Goel. You with me? That's where you really see Hashem's relationship with Am Yisrael. Because it's not to do even with the inyan of Tzidkus and Rishus. So how does he choose between us? He flips a coin. But that's him, mamash. You get that?
Shmuel, can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
Okay, I mean, I think I got it. I don't know, but it seemed like, yeah, you're right. Differences, us to a toys, we don't see the difference. But tzaddikim to food, they don't see a difference. We do, and on and on and on. But Hashem, now here's what gets nuts to me. You say Hashem, Mordechai, and Haman, there is no difference. But then he said there is a difference. That he's a Yid. So which one is it?
So we've said this before, but in different language right now, yeah. Is what's the inyan of the lotto, yeah? It's
like the Purim lotto, like what Haman did, that lotto?
Also on Yom Kippur, or when the Kohanim went up to the Ram, any time when there's a goal, you know what goal means, yeah? A lotto.
A lottery.
I'm saying a goal, yeah? Whenever there's a poor, yeah, that's the inyan of Paraduma. That's the inyan of Paraduma is Purim. It's the same language, yeah? We're talking about going so high that it appears random. It appears random. I mean, why? The only reason it wouldn't appear random if you choose Haman over Mordechai is because Haman is a rasha and Mordechai is a tzaddik. So it's something about Haman and Mordechai. It's not about you. You're choosing Haman. You're choosing Mordechai because Mordechai is a tzaddik. And you're not choosing Haman because Haman's a Rasha. That's like why you choose chocolate cake over carrot cake. It's something about the chocolate cake. Now we're also saying it's also something about you why you prefer chocolate to carrot, but we're not. Don't get confused on that right now. But when you're looking at chocolate cake and carrot cake, you're not choosing chocolate cake or carrot cake. The chocolate cake is choosing you, or the carrot cake is choosing you. It's about the chocolate cake or the carrot cake. It's not about you. It's about external things to you.
What would be the statement about you?
What?
What would be something different than chocolate cake and carrot cake?
What do you mean?
Meaning the opposite of that is when it's chocolate cake versus chocolate cake. Then you're the one choosing?
And you choose one.
Based on what, though?
Based on you. It doesn't compute in our mind. That's why we have to think of it as a goal. That's why from our perspective, it's called a goal. You're like, well, why did you choose that piece of chocolate cake over that piece of chocolate cake? It's the same size, it's the same taste, it's the same everything, yeah? So why did you choose it? It looks random. But that's the point. That's the exact point. It's not random, it's the Ribbono Shel Olam. So what's his kesher to Mordechai over Haman? It's not to do with Mordechai, it's not to do with Haman, it's to do with him. So Hashem chose the Yidden on Purim through a lotto, through a goal, because it was showing you it was about the Ribbono Shel Olam, not about us. Are you getting that?
I'm not getting it, but that's just me. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, let's try and get it. It appears from our perspective that it is random.
What's random?
You've got a $10 bill and a $10 bill.
Hmm.
Which one do you choose? I'm going to flip a coin. I don't know. How can I choose? Like I did it the other day at G4, yeah? I did the whole thing with the 100 shekel bill, 100 shekel bill. I turned around to the guy and it proved it beautifully. He immediately went, that one. And I was like, and he said, look, because that one's got a tear. I mean, he saw a difference. There was a difference. He saw a difference. So he went with the one that was without the tear. So if they were both exactly the same, then you can't make a choice. So you flip a coin. That's random. But it's not random. Nothing's random. It's coming from the Ribbono Shel Olam. From our perspective, it looks random. But from his perspective, it's a choice. That's called a Bechira Chofshis. I mean, there's no reason why I choose this over that. And I'm still choosing that. Why? Because that's me. But you don't see a difference. Now you really know that that's me. You're right, you don't see a difference. It's $100 bill and $100 bill. And he chooses that one. So it appears to us random. But it's not random. It's an expression of the essence of God. Why did you choose this over that? And he says to you, Kacha. That's like saying to the sun, why'd you shine? He says, what do you mean, why do I shine? I'm the sun. So you say to Hashem, why did you choose Am Yisrael? He's like, what do you mean, why do I choose Am Yisrael? I'm Hashem. It's the same answer. That's Lamala min Atam Vadas. And you only see that when you're dealing with two things that are the same. And that's the whole Indian of Baruch Mordechai and Arur Hamana, or Arur Haman Baruch Arur Mordechai Baruch Haman, to not be able to tell the difference is a remiss to go into that place, which is where by Hashem there is no difference between Am Yisrael and Am Amalek. The difference is from him. That's going beyond all the differences of. But so when you get to the point, like, why did Hashem choose Yaakov over Esav? Well, you would say, well, look, Yaakov was a great guy. Esav was a Russia. That's not why Hashem chose Yaakov over Esav. That's how it looked down here. But why did Hashem choose? That wouldn't be an essential choice. That would be because Yaakov is Geschmack and Esav is not Geschmack. That's like the same reason why you choose the chocolate yogurt over the vanilla yogurt. That's not an essential expression of who you are. The only way you know it's an essential expression of who you are is when Yaakov and Esav are exactly the same, and you still choose Yaakov. So now what's it about Yaakov? It's nothing about Yaakov. It's about me. I'll tell you, if this makes sense, yeah, then you don't understand it.
Thank God.
No, I mean that. I mean, this doesn't make sense. Because you're like, at the end of the day, well, if it's two pieces of chocolate cake are the same, why is that showing me something about you? And that's the point. That's my expression of me. Because it's me. That's what we've said again, is there's the me in it as opposed to the not me. That's really the difference. So it doesn't exist by chocolate cake, but it does exist by a nation. Yeah.
So I think only when they're the same, when there's no choice between the two, when they're the same, is that show your true essence, your true expression. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's what we're getting to. So the Haman and Mordechai, when they're the same, then that really shows Hashem's true essence of what he's picking, which is picking Mordechai.
Yes. Yes. Not because he's a tzaddik. Remember, we've said this before. Remember by Noach. Yeah, by Noach it says that he's tzaddik, v'schalachim Hashem. It gives you three big shevach, gives three big shevachim of Noach, and by Avram it just says lech lecha, just go. Because we Hashem chose us not because we were the greatest nation, not because we were the most humble nation. There was nothing about us that is why he chose us. We were chosen because that's him. That's real choosing. It's not about us. It's about him. That's what we learned from Har Sinai. Is Har Sinai? He chose Har Sinai. It was a very like bland mountain. It was very what was the word?
I love it.
Very normal. It had no features that made it wasn't Mount Everest. That would make sense to me. If I was God, yeah, I would have given the Torah on Mount Everest. That's what I would have done. And I wouldn't have split the Sea of Reeds. I would have split like the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, because I'm all thinking about the grandeur. The whole point is that this is Hashem showing himself, and it doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense. Just like we said, why do you want to live? There's no reason I want to live. That's Lamalam in the Tam Vadas. So that's why did we get off into that subject?
I want to stay in it.
What?
I want to stay in it.
Yeah. She was in the shade of showing when post put us about him. We said that we were saying that Kolzman, the person, the Jew, relates to himself as a human being. If he thinks he's a human being, then he is a human being, and the essence of his soul is asleep. if he learns the right things and he hangs out with the right people and he thinks the right thoughts and he doesn't look at the wrong things, etc., etc., and he starts to relate to himself mamish as a yid, then that chalik, so to speak, of him, which isn't a chalik, it's the essence of who he is healthy and robust and awake and alive and a part of his reality. And this is what he's saying, that when the person holds the gun to the Yid's head and says your God or your life, then that part of the Yid that is usually dormant in normal Yidden, because normal Yidden relate to themselves as human beings, yeah, that part of the Yid flares up, and all of a sudden he's a big tzaddik and he's prepared to give his life up for God. And it has to be that he's prepared to give his life up for God. Why? Why is that the ultimate revelation of this?
He's not his body.
Why?
He's not his body.
More. Why giving up his life? Why is that the ultimate revelation of that he's not his body?
His life is the greatest ultimate identification with his nefesh habahamis, with his human element.
More. Because his desire to live is without reason. His desire to live is an expression of the essence of his humanity.
Who's this? Who?
A normal human being. His desire to live is an expression of the essence of his humanity, an essence of his mortality. And the fact that he gives that up, and not like we said, the guy who's giving it up for his ideology, because then he can go above it. But the essence of your life is that it wants to keep living. Why? Because that's it. So the fact that the Yiddish side, that its essence is to be Echad Yachid and Miyuchad with the Ribbono Shel Olam, trumps the reasonless desire, the reasonless essential desire of the Nefesh Bahamis to continue living. That's the ultimate expression of godliness in this world. That's the ultimate revelation of God in this world. That the essence of God overwhelms the essence of creation. That's called a Kiddush Hashem. You get that? You've got two essential desires. You've got your desire to live. Why do you want to live? Kacha. Just want to live. So that can trump everything, because you don't have a reason to live. Your desire to live trumps everything on a human level. So the fact that when someone puts a gun to your head and says either you give up your God or you give up your life, the fact that you're giving up your life is the ultimate expression, because you could give up like your car, or you could give up your house. There's stuff you could give up. But to give up your actual life, there's no reason there. That is an expression of the essence of the animal soul, of your humanity. So that is where the Jew differs from the non-Jew. Is the non-Jew can't give up his humanity because he's just human. So he could give up his life, but that would be for some kind of shita, for some kind of ideology. So
why does that make sense?
Huh?
Why does that make sense?
Why does that make sense? Because he's giving up his life for his real life, which is his ideology. More, he's become identified with something bigger than himself. That's why Avraham, that's why the Akedah Yitzhak was a revelation of the true Jewishness of Avraham, that he was able to ascend his shita, his ideology. but just in Stum, this guy, this Jew, doesn't have an ideology. He's not a frum Jew. He doesn't have an ideology. So his highest thing is his life. And in this case, we see the ultimate revelation. He's giving up the ultimate thing that he has, which is his life, which is a reasonless, it's just an expression. It's not what he has, it's an expression, a reasonless expression of his essence, of his humanity, of the essence of his humanity. So that's why this is the foundation of all of Yiddishkeit, is that your neshama, which its essence is to be one with God, is able to trump your human essence, which is to stay alive. It's essence trumping essence. I wasn't thinking we were going to go so deep today. I'm very tired. We're going to hold here. I thought we'll finish the period next week. Next week is next week we're on Bezrat Hashem.
Yeah. Shmuel, can I go back a little bit
Yeah.
on the Yaakov versus Esav piece? So I understand that the optics, Mordechai and Haman, I get it. Mordechai's great, Haman isn't. And so Hashem would pick Mordechai, but we're going beyond that. I get that. But I don't know this answer. But Haman is not Jewish. Yaakov is. I mean, Mordechai is. So that makes sense that Hashem picks the Yid. But with Yaakov and his brother, was his brother Jewish?
If Yaakov is Jewish, then Esav is Jewish, no?
So okay, so why does Hashem pick Yaakov then? Why does he pick him? You just said he picks Mordechai because he's a Jew. Okay, I get that.
To say Esav is Jewish is weird to say that, but he was the same as Yaakov.
So why did Hashem pick Yaakov?
That's the point.
What is that point? It's not
What do you
hidden.
mean? Yaakov picked Yaakov. What do you mean?
Why did Hashem pick Yaakov over Esav?
Hashem didn't pick Yaakov. Esav chose to give it to Yaakov.
He gave him his firstborn, right? But he's still. What about before that?
No, it's not. I wish I remembered the pasuk with There's a famous pasuk about. Well, let me see if I can find it a moment. 1 minute.
By the way, it fits in good because I've heard that Esav and Yaakov looked exactly the same, and that Esav looked like a tzaddik, but we know he wasn't. He was doing stuff on the side, so it's.
But again, Hashem doesn't pick Esav because of that. That's not tzaddik or not tzaddik. That's not why he picked him. We're above those decisions. That's what I'm hearing from the Shir today. That we're going above that. It's above Buzz versus Woody. Although I would pick Woody.
Wait a minute, I want to see if I can find the pasuk.
You look like him a little.
Thought you would pick Buzz.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gabriel.
There was at Malachi. It's Malachi. Yeah, there you go. Oh, God bless the AI. It's in Malachi. Yeah. Oh, wow, I love it. Anyway, it's Malachi Aleph, base Gimel. 1 minute. Oh, it has it here. One second. So Ahavti eschem Am Hashem, I loved you. Va'amartem b'ma ahavtanu. You say, how do you love us? Haloi Esav ach liYaakov ne'um Hashem. Isn't Esav the brother of Yaakov, says Hashem? Va'ohev es Yaakov, v'es Esav snasi. I love Yaakov and I hate Esav. V'asim es harav shmama v'es nachlasoi. The sun is mid. Oh, it's written it funny. It's written it backwards. One second, he's got the translation here. I loved you, says Hashem, yet you say, how have you loved us? Wasn't that Esav Yaakov's brother? Says Hashem, yet I loved Yaakov and Esav I have hated. And I made his mountains desolate and gave his heritage to the jackals of wilderness. That this is the pasuk, exactly the point, that they were brothers, and and Hashem loved Yaakov over Esav. Why? It's the same question as why does the sun shine and why do you want to live? The moshul for this is why do you want to live? Yitzi, why do you want to live?
Well, according to what? According to my Jewish soul or my animal soul?
No, according to your human soul, why do you want to live?
Like you said, I mean, I want to do. I personally love to be here to do a lot of Torah mitzvahs, chesed, tzedakah, all that. I'm here for that. Is that good enough reason?
No, everyone wants to. I mean, that your humanity wants to live for no other reason that that's just what life wants to do. Life wants to continue to live. You know, that meager cat in the street, he also wants to live. It just wants to live. That's just it. So on this level, we're saying, why does Hashem choose Yaakov over Esav? It wasn't to do with who they were. It was to do with Hashem. It's again, it's like we can't. It's not something that you can understand. All you can do is kind of take your mind to a place where you're happy, not understanding. Like, so why did you choose him? If they're the same, why did you choose him? And Hashem says, well, that's just me. Well, then you have to say, well, then there has to be a difference between them. They can't be the same. And he says, no, they're not the same. But not in a way that is distinct. They're not the same, but not in a way that makes them different.
It's just difficult to hear this because we know how fantastic Yaakov was on the outside and how not Esav was. Same thing with. So you would think this would be the reason, and you're saying no, that's not the reason.
No, it's not the reason. And
I know, which is saying, well, what am I working so hard for? Hashem's gonna love me regardless. I'm just, like Yaakov is working. He's doing what he's got to do, and you would think that's why he's the chosen one. But you're saying not.
I would say the exact opposite. I would
really.
say because I've been chosen for no reason, then I should behave myself. I should behave absolutely flawlessly. I've been chosen for what reason? There's no reason why I've been chosen. I'm not special. I'm not intrinsically. I'm just. Why did he choose me? It was, from my perspective, it was a goal. I won the goal. From my perspective. So I'm going to give you everything with Ribono Shel Olam. Segula. That's what it means. Segula. A segula is like a funny thing you do that has no connection to the outcome. We're called an segula. Meaning, why did he choose us? There's no answer to that question. And that's the inyan of paraduma. I've heard many people say, oh, you're going to understand it in Asid Lavoi because paraduma is so complicated and so complex that you don't know. It's Loshen Pa, Peresh, Pur, Purim. It's just him. It's just him. The only way you can when you really understand that seichel is not all of that. The reason why we have such a problem understanding this or feeling comfortable with this is because we worship the seichel. We worship intellect and logic. And we're talking about beyond logic and intellect. That's the point. That's the point. So now that we've been chosen by the Ribono Shel Olam for no reason, now it's our job to give him a reason to love us. He loves us essentially. Now let him love us logically also. That's the avoid of Am Yisrael. That was worth it just for saying that. That was the whole show was worth that. We know he loves us essentially. Now let's get his mind and his heart in the love as well. Because his mind doesn't love us essentially. His mind needs reasons to love us. Who he is essentially loves us, but we want to be loved by all parts of him. You with me? So now let's give him a reason to love us as well. So let's behave ourselves beautifully. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem. I don't know when I'm gonna do this, but I want to give a shir on Purim on a different gisha. I'll announce it when I know when, or maybe I'll just record myself into the computer and put it online. Okay, Chevrolet. Shkoyach.
Shkoyach, thank you so much. Hopefully you can post this.